the first to know in Nsem-Pii TV.
And court echo assistant Nina Eye Kwadu Attorney General Dr. Dominic Ayene etimi ede ebo former National Signal Bureau NSB Director General Kwabena Edubuahin ene Nigeria ena afe nipa mienu bi a won eka ho medre donko ena Advantage Solution Limited na yebeka ya case no ehya ase no na egi entimi emfa nkonkopie mu e court nenso na waba be ho press conference etimi e the cases bebre egu Edubuahin so but ehya ase se e court no ena egi ehun se ekame se nsem no a oba be kan no ebi e wo ho a ensio enhyeda enim enti won eka se nka Kwabena Edubuahin emergentum nanka on fight for plea bargain nanso Edubuahin ka se enya de so no beti ase ne de eti ase tena because document ne kra ag de be kwa kopie mu e wo court no se ebia ufri page 90 instead of so be ko 91 no ubetimi afri 90 na ko 100 ubisa osi page ne de aka no ehunhia enti yaji de afri na eno na eme e court no ne lawyer Akyea de ne evidence ekokogu nanso e kame ese court no empese ono ebe tie evidence ne no and Akyea di to just say a come say court no any age nyina in a rush say one ebetime a prosecute Edubuahin and any ne ho kani all in the name of say plea bargain no yanje amfa antu na de yenko na yenko nkotie Akyea.
I will never withdraw that. I believe that as if we are in an ambulance mood to get these people jailed. I will never withdraw. That's my sense of it. So even where we should wait for a motion to be heard, Attorney General is in no mood to even respect the rules. And it's on me also, the judge will just respect what he's saying and obey it. I've seen several things in the court which is telling me that Attorney General is having his own way in that court. And whatever he says, then the judge wants to do it for him. Since we started these matters, that's my strong view of the matter. And I'm afraid justice, whatever you want to call it, should never be at the expense of my clients. You see, if you want a expeditious trial, fine. It should never be at the expense of my client. My client should be given the facilities to contest the case fairly.
But is it fair to the judge to say that it appears whatever the Attorney General wants, he gets in court? 2 objections were held in your name. You requested an adjournment. It was granted. And on all 3 occasions, these were against the strong protest of the Deputy Attorney General. So is that assessment fair to the judge?
It's inconsequential at all, because the Attorney General orally will break time. If you saw what happened, there were motions that were intended for the 29th and the 30th. Attorney General believes that those motions should not be taken and that the case should be heard, next week. He was obliged. You should open your eyes to see what is going on there. You don't need too much intelligence that, it seems to me that this is the Attorney General's, pleasure, which is being carried out, even if it will cost us injustice.
In terms of the exculpatory document that you wanted, the court is saying that you have to show anything for the defense that AG has them to be able to provide them for you.
The same AG was able to bring the National Security Coordinator's account. Where did he get it from? Where did he get it from? So we shouldn't confuse that if it's in your possession, it means it's in your armpit. But you can commandeer it. That's what the law says. You can place a demand on other law enforcement agencies to bring the documents that will aid the case of the accused persons. And these are constitutional provisions. These are not matters of anybody's invention. Why are we subverting the Constitution with such impunity? As if we are in indecent haste to get somebody in prison. That's my sense of what is going on.
Okay, you have 2 applications pending. What are these applications?
The first one is disclosures. And then I want them to see the necessity to look at whether or not somebody acquired a property in London, at what time, with what money. So if you can't show the nexus between the property acquisition and the so-called account from which these monies were fretted out, then you have a very poor case. So my sense of this case is that what they need, the accused persons need, to destroy the case of the Attorney General, they don't have it. And somebody believes that, oh, with impunity, let's go on because I'm running very fast to get somebody incarcerated. How can you deny somebody his weapons of warfare and hurry him so that somebody will come and say that, oh, this case was not properly conducted? Meanwhile, everything that will expose this case as dangerously anemic and aberration of justice is with them, and they don't want to bring it. How do you process a situation in which, before a judge, are missing pages of documents brought by the Attorney General, and the judge says, all right, we don't have to see the other missing pages? Is that justice? That's why we appealed the case.
And the other application, you talk about the disclosure.
Yes. And stay of proceedings, that we lodge an appeal against the refusal of the disclosures with the Court of Appeal. And we've come to the judge that, look, in view of these matters we've raised in the appeal, you should stay proceedings. Because at the end of the day, if you hurry this trial, and what the accused persons need for cross-examination and defense is not available, you've shortchanged them in an irreparable way that somebody is going to go to jail because concealing evidence is comfortable with the Attorney General. That is unfair.
The press statement of the businessmen who are looking for dollars, Mohammed Amin, Atta. And I have something to say about the MPP contest, not the Saturday one. The Saturday event is not a contest, but there's an MPP contest coming up, and for national chairman, John Boadu is running for national chairman for the MPP. But here, Edward Boateng has entered a race, and we'll talk about that. Then we'll talk about Tony Edu, and we have an exclusive interview with Mustafa Hamid's lawyer right here on Good Evening Ghana. So there is a concern. I don't know whether, I'm not a businessman, so I've not felt it, but I don't know whether people who are doing business, if you are doing business and you felt this, please send us a text message and let's look at it. But this is what the story says. It's difficulty in getting US dollars to buy at the banks and its negative impact on business. The statement is by concerned importers. Okay, it's back. The statement is by concerned importers of Ghana. That's what they call themselves, and they have a letterhead. They said, we write to bring to the attention of the government difficulties importers face in our attempts to secure US dollars for our business. As businessmen who import goods from abroad, our main trading currency is the US dollar, which we buy from home for our external transactions. And the cedi's recent stability against the dollar came as good news to importers and traders for obvious reasons. However, they say, just as we began to reveal in the stability, we are now confronted with another challenge of struggling to buy US dollars from the banks. I'm sure they mean the commercial banks. For some days now, our members have been left in limbo as many of the banks claim they don't have US dollars, a development which has compelled importers to resort to the black market for dollars at exorbitant rates. On paper, the cedi is supposed to have stabilized, and the dollar is supposed to be sold to us at 10 cedis 30 pesos. However, what is on paper is not the reality confronting us. The banks are not selling, and our members have had to resort to the black forex market to buy dollar as high as over 13 cedis for $1. This situation is not business friendly and not fair to us and the general population. If this is not checked to ensure the banks sell dollars to importers at the approved rate, prices of goods will continue to go up. We cannot understand why it is difficult to get dollars from the banks at approved rates when the Bank of Ghana has been given assurances. And by this statement, we want to appeal to the government and the Bank of Ghana to let what they announce on paper be the reality. How can the Bank of Ghana announce 10.3 cedis pesos to $1, and the banks won't make the dollar available because they don't believe in the rates? They're asking a question. Is it that the banks don't believe in the rates? I don't know. The disparity between the BOG's rate and the reality in the forex market is too wide and concerning. If the cedi has really stabilized as is being portrayed, then the Bank of Ghana should compel the banks to have confidence in its rate and sell dollars at same rates to traders. The present situation, they say, where the BOG only announces forex rates without the bank selling dollars is deeply worrying. And the statement is signed by Robert Tetinote, and Francis Oti Boateng, convener and secretary, respectively. They insisted that we have to read this statement for them. So we have done justice to that. If you have the same experience, or if you have a contrary experience, please share with us on your on the Good Evening Ghana official. Send us a text on it. Mohamed Amin Anta, the immediate past finance minister, is telling the MPP something. What is he saying? It's related to the performance of the economy under the NDC, which many people applaud so far, that the NDC has done fantastic with the economy over the last 6 months. But Amin Anta has a message. On his letterhead as a member of parliament for Karaga constituency, he says that MPP must regroup quickly as NDC policies fail. Why does Mohamed Amin Anta, the former finance minister and also the former minister of state at energy, think that the NDC policy is failing and so MPP must regroup? This is what he says. He says, it is not unusual for a party defeated in elections 7 months ago to face the internal problems we are currently experiencing. This is a phase that will undoubtedly pass. The new patriotic party will rediscover its winning formula well ahead of the next general election. Unsurprisingly, our opponents, the NDC, have so far failed to demonstrate the competence needed to meet the expectations of the majority of Ghanaians. The goodwill they enjoyed at the outset of the administration is rapidly eroding under the weight of failing policies. Is it not too early for Amin to say that? Anyway, let's listen to him. Over the last 6 months, he says, we have seen taxes increased and extensions of taxes that were due to end this year, with the latest increase in the Dumsor levy coming into force today, July 16, 2025. The government has refused to heed the plea of Ghanaians, including transport associations, regarding the potential increase in transport fares due to the levy. This levy will worsen the cost of living for Ghanaians. We have also seen the dismissal of innocent Ghanaian youth from employment and heightened insecurity. It is deeply troubling to learn that a government that promised jobs will implement measures that takes jobs away from the very people who voted them into office. If you have recently lost your job, please know that the NDC has abandoned you and shows little concern for your welfare. The future MPP government will restore your jobs and bring back dignity to the young people of our country. Notwithstanding the artificial boost in the value of the cedi, prices for goods and services remain very high. Electricity tariffs have also doubled, resulting in a total of 17%. With only 10% rise in basic wages, Ghanaians can no longer rely on their disposable income to support their families. Not only are the false narratives about the economy they inherited being dismantled, but their attempts to win the sympathy of the people of Ghana through propagandist economic figures is also crumbling before their very eyes. Despite the denial by the governor of the Bank of Ghana regarding the intervention in the forex market, the International Monetary Fund's latest staff report revealed that the bank intervened with 1.4 billion in the first quarter of 2025. This confirms our assertion that the intervention was supported by international foreign reserves accumulated by the previous MPP government. Additionally, the large accumulation of non-existent payables used to generate a high primary fiscal deficit for 2024, based on which they claim there was a breach in the IMF program, can no longer stand. We don't understand this part. I mean, this is a bit too technical economics. The large accumulated of the non-existence payable used to generate high primary fiscal. Hey, Mohamed Amin. Not all of us are economists, though. Anyway, let's move on. As the IMF report has uncovered troubling findings from an initial audit, it shows that a significant share of such payables may not be supported by valid documentation, suggesting the amounts may be revised downward and a better fiscal outcome could eventually emerge. After claiming high market confidence in the economy at the start of the year due to oversubscription of government papers, the market has now shown that policy inconsistency can cause multiple auction failures. Out of a total of 28 treasury auctions held from January 3rd, 2025 to July 11, 2025, 13 auctions failed to meet the target, with bid cover ratios below 1.0. Despite high participation earlier in the year, these auction failures indicate investor fatigue as the government continues to manipulate rates at the auctions to undermine price discovery. The failure also suggests a declining investor appetite for government securities, partly due to policy uncertainty. The government must proceed cautiously in its efforts to reopen the bond market especially in the light of the recent debt exchange program. As the government aims to mitigate risk in the debt portfolio by extending its maturity profile, it must do so responsibly to avoid jeopardizing the significant progress made in restoring debt sustainability through our successful external debt restructuring. The government must ensure that investors, particularly pension funds, are not unfairly pressured to participate in the bond market. They should do so based on a balanced consideration of cost and risk. Additionally, the credibility of the government financing commitments cannot be assured. The 2025 budget projection projects a financing of 56.91 billion for 2025, including net domestic financing 36.99 billion and foreign net 21.41 billion. As of 11 July 2025, auction data indicates over 6 billion in repayment as the government reallocates resources from vital sectors of the economy to cover auction shortfalls. This situation, he says, raises serious questions about the reliability of financing assumptions. As a result, many flagship programs of the government remain underfunded as ministers openly express frustration over cash flow constraints even for budget lines approved by Parliament. It is worth noting that the government is only now planning to pay contractors using a loan it is obtaining from the World Bank, despite the Ghana Revenue Authority exceeding its half-year revenue target by approximately 4 billion cedis. Also, the 24-hour economy program remains a theoretical construct with attractive visuals, reminiscent of the famous Green Book from the last NDC government. As the government has not allocated a budget for its realization, the launch of the program recently was meant to play to the gallery, as it is practically difficult to realize the objectives of a program that has no dedicated source of funding. I advise the Minister for Finance to utilize the mid-year budget review to clarify the government's financing strategy for the program and the economy. These and many other reasons demonstrate that the NDC's fanciful attempts to show courage in the face of unredeemable promises will soon become a reality for the people of Ghana to see. The upcoming National Delegates Conference and subsequent presidential primaries must serve as a rallying point for our party and supporters nationwide to cast off the weight of 2024 defeat and re-energize our front for victory in the next election. 3 years may seem distant, but in political terms, it is around the corner, especially as the cost of living gap continues to widen. The campaign for 2028 begins now. Let us rally behind the leadership of the party, for in unity lies strength. We have in the past overcome even greater odds to secure victory. We have the capability and the resolve to rise above our current challenges, regain the trust of the Ghanaian people, and return to power. I wish the party a successful and impactful Congress. Atta is speaking like a presidential candidate. Is he interested in the thing? Mohammed, are you interested in running for presidential candidate for the MPP? But that's very well written, very well said, very well. He's writing like a scholar, like an economist that he is. A very useful Minister of Finance. I texted his people when I got the message, and they said he's out of town. And I told them that they should promise me an interview when he's back in town. So I'm sure that as soon as Atta is back in town, we can have an interview with him. But kudos, some of the things you wrote were quite technical. We didn't get it. But generally, we understand what you're saying. And you are demonstrating a real understanding of the economy, coming as the immediate past Minister for Finance. Congratulations, Mohammed Amin Anta. Still on the MPP, before I get to Tornado and the OSP, the MPP is attending a congress at Legon on Saturday. Are you going to be there? I don't know whether I'll be there. Saturday, I'll play basketball. So maybe when I finish, I will just swing. But I don't have accreditation, but Metro TV has picked up some accreditations that I'm sure I can get one. So I may be there. Now, that congress is to do constitutional amendments, something like that, and to sort of amend the electoral college that will be running the presidential candidate, presidential challenge in January. Mumuni Bawumia, I keep saying Mumuni Bawumia. Mahmoud Bawumia will be at the Congress for sure. I'm sure everyone knows that. So will the other presidential aspirants. But the chairmanship race for the NPP is getting interesting because whilst John Boedu has said that he's going to be chairman, Edward Boatin has entered the race. Sounds like a very, very refreshing refreshing sort of individual to enter the race. I don't know that whether many of you know him, but you know him. He's a media person, Global Media Alliance, blah, blah, blah. He's done a lot in the media. During President Kufuor's era, he connected Ghana to CNN. Those of you who used to watch CNN and you're watching CNN weather and you don't see Accra and you feel very sad, you see Cairo, you see Cotonou, you see London, and you don't see Accra. It was Edward Boateng's work that put Accra on the CNN thing. So now you see Accra temperature, so and so and so. He used to be a senior staff of CNN sometime in the 90s, and he came back to Ghana. He's a big PR brain. Generally, he's a brain of strategy. Edward Boateng is a strategic thinker in many, many ways. You know that he was ambassador to China, and he tried to bring a lot of money from China. The Sino-Hydro and all of that was wrought by him. Now, Edward Boateng has entered the race to be chairman of the party, and the people who are supporting him are saying that he is bringing a lot of refreshing ideas to the party and great leadership at this time when the MPP image is quite low. Because the MPP is fighting an image battle at this time. The party is in disarray and they are fighting an image battle. And Edward Boateng is the right person to be that image consultant to restore the credibility of the new patriotic party. Now, who is Edward Boateng? Ambassador Edward Boateng is a multifaceted global leader whose career spans diplomacy, strategic communication, media innovation, governance, philanthropy. Renowned for reshaping Africa's media landscape and deepening Ghana's diplomatic ties, particularly with China, as I said, he has brought transformation vision to both public institutions and private sector. As Ghana's ambassador to China, Mongolia, and North Korea, Boateng brokered multi-billion-dollar development deals, expanded educational opportunities for the Ghanaian student, and led humanitarian responses during the COVID-19 pandemic. His diplomatic efforts earned him praise as one of the most effective ambassadors of his tenure. He served as Director General of the Ghana State Interest and Governance Authority, SIGA, overseeing 100 state-owned enterprises. His leadership introduced performance contracts, real-time